This plane is taking food to remote villages in South Sudan's lowland swamps. It's the rainy season, and roads are washed out. The only way to get food here is to drop it from the sky. The woman in the red skirt is Martha. She says she walked for 6 hours through the swamp to get to the drop zone.
This is the first time I've received food aid. We've been surviving on water lilies and wild plants. We have 20 displaced people living in our home. If some of us don't have food, then we share what little we have. I don't know what we'll do when this food runs out.
The crisis here is not a natural disaster. It's man-made. In 2013, a power struggle between the president and his former deputy ignited a civil war, starting the country on the road to famine. This is Bentiu, South Sudan's largest camp for displaced people. UN peacekeepers are protecting more than 120,000 residents from the war raging outside the camp. These people have just arrived in Bentiu. After walking for several days to get here, many of them are hungry and sick. Nyakos arrived last week. She says a pro-government militia had attacked her village.
When they came, we had no idea what was going to happen to us. They killed my nephew when he was out taking care of the cattle. I was kidnapped by soldiers right in front of my house. They beat me and raped me. If I open my dress, you'll see scars. I was so worried about my children. I didn't know if they were alive or dead.
After 2 months in captivity, Nyakos escaped. She made her way to the UN camp, walking alone for 10 days.
When I arrived here, I found my son Gadkur taking care of the children. I couldn't believe I'd found all 6 of my children alive. My 13-year-old daughter was collecting firewood to buy milk for the baby. He was only 2 months old when I was abducted. He was almost dying of hunger.
The UN estimates that 680,000 children in South Sudan suffer from acute malnutrition. That's 6 times as many as before the war. The relief group Doctors Without Borders has set up a clinic to treat some of them.
This is MSF, Therapeutic Feeding Center in Bentu, POC. My name is Stephanie Mayron, and I'm the Emergency Medical Coordinator. Here's our inpatient feeding center, where we have our most critical malnourished patients. We have seen quite a high mortality rate, so the number of children dying has been around 15 to 20%, which is about one out of every 5 children. 5 to 6 children that would die.
South Sudan has vast stretches of fertile land and plentiful water, but hundreds of thousands of people have abandoned their farmland to escape the violence. Cattle have become the spoils of war. Soldiers steal them during attacks on villages, leaving families destitute. Here in the government-held county of Bor, displaced farmers have borrowed land in a safe zone to try to grow enough vegetables to feed their families.
My name is Mayom. We are in Bor, in Jonglei State. I'm the chairman of the Bor Community Garden. Many people aren't growing food because they're afraid to go to their farms. If we do, we could be killed. South Sudan is at war. A lot of our food is imported from Uganda, but only rich people can afford it. There isn't enough food for everyone. Life is hard because there's no peace.
South Sudan has now been mired in civil war for more than 2 years. The fighting is spreading to new areas, displacing more civilians and worsening the food crisis. The UN warns that South Sudan is on the brink of famine.